I wiped his tears when no one else noticed him, fed him when he was too proud to ask, held his hand when the world gave him nothing but closed doors. I told him he could be more, do more, and he looked into my eyes like I was the only truth in his broken universe. I skipped meals to buy him books, stayed up late so he could sleep peacefully before exams. He said, "One day I'll give you the world." But today, the only thing he gave me was silence and a wedding invitation that didn't have my name on it. He was skinny, tired, always on edge. The kind of boy people walked past without even a second glance. But I saw him. Not just who he was, but who he could become. I still remember the day he forgot his wallet at lunch, stomach rumbling, pretending he wasn't hungry. I split my lunch in half, smiling like I wasn't starving too. That's where it began, with hunger, hope, and 2 pieces of bread. "You don't owe me anything," I told him then. And he smiled, lips trembling. "One day I'll pay it all back." I believed him. God, I believed him. When tuition notices piled up, and his landlord started threatening eviction, I sold my grandmother's earrings, our last family heirloom. "It's just metal," I said, brushing off tears. "Your future's worth more." I remember the way he looked at me that night, like I was the entire galaxy condensed into one body. He promised to make it big. Promised I'd never have to worry again. We were just students, but I saw a CEO in him, and he saw his entire life in me. Or so I thought. Funny how promises made in candlelight fade in boardrooms with spotlights. He started a little project, just an idea, really, an app for students to rent textbooks. I cheered the loudest at his first pitch, even when no one else clapped. I became his unpaid assistant, replying to emails, fixing typos, making coffee. I was everything, his manager, his therapist, his shoulder at 3 a.m. When things picked up, he looked at me and said, "We're gonna make it, babe." I kissed his forehead and whispered, "I already did the moment you started believing in yourself." If only I knew that belief would be the reason I'd get burned. I watched him glow up. Gym. New suits. Fancier words. He started talking about exit strategies and investors. But somewhere in that crowd, I started disappearing. He stopped introducing me as his girl. Now I was just an old friend who helped. At parties, I stood by the door, clutching my clutch like armor. Smiles got shorter. Texts got delayed. But I stayed. I kept thinking, maybe he's just busy. Maybe when things calm down, he'll come back to me. But no, he wasn't busy. He was becoming someone else. And I was still holding onto a version of him that no longer existed. Then came the lipstick. Not mine. Not my shade. I found it in the car, crimson, bold, loud, like the woman who wore it. "Whose is this?" I asked, heart already sinking. He laughed, actually laughed. "You're overthinking again," he said, brushing it off like dust. But the perfume lingered. The silence grew heavier. He locked his phone, changed his passwords. He stopped kissing me goodnight. I knew. Every part of me knew. But love makes you stupid. And I was a top graduate in foolish loyalty. The hotel receipt fell out of his blazer pocket like a curse. I didn't even cry at first. I just stared. Room 807. 2 nights. And a name scribbled in loopy handwriting. "Thanks for everything, babe kiss mark, dot." My fingers went numb. My world shattered. When I confronted him, he sighed like I was the burden. "You're always emotional," he said. "This is why I can't talk to you." That night, I slept on the couch, shaking, not from cold, but from the realization that love wasn't supposed to make you feel so small. He didn't even deny it, just shrugged. "She's more my level now. You wouldn't understand." I blinked. What level? The one I paid for with my sacrifices? The one I climbed with bloody hands while carrying his weight to? "You're not part of my vision anymore," he said. And just like that, I was deleted. Like a draft he no longer needed. He walked away. No guilt. No apology. Just the sound of his shoes clicking over the pieces of my heart. But what he didn't know was that ashes don't just blow away. Sometimes they rise. For 3 weeks, I didn't leave my bed. Blankets felt like caskets. My phone buzzed with sympathy texts I didn't reply to. I deleted all our pictures. Burned his old t-shirt I used to sleep in. And when I saw my reflection in the mirror, puffy-eyed, broken, I whispered, "Never again." That day, I walked into a gym with tear stains still on my cheeks. I lifted 2-pound dumbbells like they weighed the world. But I showed up. Again. And again. Slowly. I became someone else. Not his girl. Not his past. Just me. Therapy wasn't pretty. I cried more than I talked. I confessed things I hadn't even told myself. But the healing started tiny, quiet, sacred. I launched a page online about healing through heartbreak, and strangers started writing back. "You helped me leave. I needed this today." Their words lit something in me. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was becoming. The pain didn't break me. It introduced me to the woman I was always meant to be. Strong, soft, unapologetic, and rising. I stopped checking his social media, stopped wondering if he missed me. Because the truth is, he didn't. And even if he did, it didn't matter. I started focusing on the woman in the mirror, the one who stayed when everyone else left. I learned to smile without a man's approval. I wore red lipstick, not to attract, but to declare, "I'm back." Every step I took toward myself felt like rebellion. Every laugh was a victory, because for once, I wasn't begging someone to see me. I was finally seeing myself. I got a new job, one that didn't care about my past heartbreak or what I used to be. My boss said, "You're sharp. Where have you been hiding?" I smiled and said, "Under someone's shadow." But not anymore. I made new friends. Real ones. Ones who didn't need saving or fixing. Ones who cheered for me without expectations. I started sleeping peacefully, no more crying into pillowcases. And the best part, my healing page went viral. 10K followers, then 50K, then a TEDx invitation, all for telling my story, the one he tried to erase. I remember standing backstage before my first speech, nervous, shaking. Then I looked out. Rows of women, some with tissues already in hand. I took a deep breath and said, "Once I gave everything to someone who gave nothing back. But it was in losing him I found me." The applause echoed in my soul. I wasn't just a girl with a broken heart anymore. I was a woman who alchemized pain into purpose. And I knew then this was just the beginning. He may have become a CEO, but I became a movement. One evening, I got an invitation to a private business gala. My friend was speaking, and I tagged along. I didn't know he'd be there. He stood in the corner, alone, sipping something expensive, but his eyes, empty. Our eyes met across the room. For a second, time rewound, but I didn't freeze. I smiled, calm, poised, untouchable. He walked over, stammering, "You look incredible." I tilted my head. "I know." Then I turned and walked away, my heels clicking like gunshots. That sound, that was freedom. He messaged me later that night. Long paragraph. Said he missed me, that she left him too. Said he couldn't stop thinking about what we had. I didn't reply. What was there to say? I'm not a backup plan. I'm the entire future you threw away. Instead, I archived the message, then took a selfie, smiling with my team after a successful project launch. That smile was real. That joy, mine. Not borrowed, not begged for. I didn't need closure from him. My success was the closure. I used to dream of marrying him, of a home filled with laughter and coffee mugs and Sunday pancakes. But now, I dreamed bigger. I dreamed of stages, companies, retreats for women starting over. My name on book covers. My face on billboards. I became my own fairy tale. No prince needed. Just the woman who rose after everyone expected her to stay down. I wasn't healing to get him back. I was healing to never want someone like him again. He tried again, sent flowers to my office. My assistant raised an eyebrow and said, "Should I trash these?" I nodded. Put them where they belong. We laughed. It felt good. I didn't need to burn the past. I simply stopped giving it oxygen. I didn't respond to his apologies. Not because I was angry, but because I had nothing left to say. Silence, when chosen, is louder than any scream. And my silence, it echoed in every room he now walked through alone. People asked if I ever wanted revenge, if I wished karma would ruin him. But the truth is, karma didn't have to. His biggest punishment was watching me win. Watching the woman he called too emotional become the voice millions listened to. Watching the girl he said wasn't on his level become someone he couldn't even reach. I didn't destroy him. I just outgrew him. And that stings more than revenge ever could. Sometimes I still pass places we once went. The coffee shop near campus. The park bench where he first kissed me. But I don't feel pain anymore. I feel gratitude. Because those places, those memories, made me who I am. He was a chapter. A brutal one. But not the end. I'm writing my own story now. Page by page. And it's filled with healing, fire, and a woman who knows her worth. He may have broken me once, but I rebuilt in gold. If you're listening to this right now, and your heart is cracked open, I want you to hear me. You will rise. You will laugh again. You will wear your story like armor, not shame. And one day, the person who left you will look back and realize they lost something irreplaceable. But by then, you'll be so far ahead, they'll only see your shadow. Keep walking. Keep becoming. You're not too broken. You're just not finished yet. I started mentoring women online. Some were fresh out of heartbreak, others still tangled in toxic love. I saw myself in them, their shaking voices, their hesitation to dream again. I told them, you don't need someone to choose you. You just need to choose yourself. And the moment they did, the glow returned. Slowly, steadily. I wasn't just healing for me anymore. I was holding the door open for others too. That's when I realized he didn't just lose a girlfriend. He lost a revolution, and I became the one leading it. I remember the night it all shifted. I was on a rooftop, city lights glittering like stars beneath me. I took a deep breath and whispered, "Thank you for leaving me." Not out of sarcasm, but real, raw gratitude. Because without the break, there would have been no breakthrough. Without the betrayal, I'd still be small. And I wasn't small anymore. I was thunder, a storm wrapped in elegance. I didn't need revenge. I needed that exact heartbreak to remember who I was before I forgot myself for love. He reached out again, this time from a fake account, complimented my growth, said he regretted everything. I laughed because now I could, not because I was mocking him, but because I was finally free. The girl who once sobbed over his silence now rolled her eyes at his desperation. That's the real glow-up. Not the money, not the fame, but the peace. The calm that comes when you no longer crave the apology. When you realize the closure was you. Healing was never about getting even, it was about getting back to you. I published my first book. The title? Left but Reborn. It sold out in days. Women tagged me in stories, reading my words between tears and coffee. One message stood out. You saved me. I was going to go back to him, but then I read chapter 3. I sat there holding my phone, heart full, not because of the sales, but because my pain had purpose now. The girl who once felt invisible was now the reason someone chose to live. That was the real success. That was my legacy. He appeared at one of my book signings. I saw him in the back, hesitant, older, duller. Life hadn't been kind. Regret does that. He stood in line, waited, then left before reaching me. Maybe it was shame. Maybe fear. Maybe he realized the woman on stage wasn't the girl he used to know. I didn't chase him. Didn't wonder why. I just kept signing books. Smiling for photos. Because I knew some chapters are better left unread a second time. The mistress? She reached out too. Said he treated her the same way. Said she envied me because I walked away stronger. I told her the truth. We both lost him. But I found myself. That's the difference. She cried. And I didn't feel smug, just sad. Because women like us are taught to fight for love, even if it kills us. But now I fight for peace. For purpose. For the girl inside me who once begged to be loved when all she needed was to love herself. I built a retreat in the mountains, quiet, lush, peaceful. A place for women to breathe, to cry, to rebuild. They came from everywhere, carrying pain in their eyes and hope in their bags. We journaled under the stars, cried by the fire, danced in the rain. I told them, we are not what they left. We are what we rise into. And each time one left lighter, freer, I felt my heart expand. This wasn't just healing. This was a revolution in motion. A new kind of love story, woman to self. I was offered a Netflix deal. A mini-series about my life. At first, I hesitated. Then I remembered this wasn't just about me. It was for every woman who ever sat on a bathroom floor, heart shattered, thinking it was over. I said yes. I wanted them to see what rebirth looked like. Not glamorized, not airbrushed, but raw, powerful, real. When the trailer dropped, the comments flooded in, "This is the story I needed." I cried, because the girl who once lost herself was now helping the world find itself. I ran into his mother once, at a wedding. She hugged me, so tight, I almost broke. She whispered, "You were the best thing that ever happened to him. I'm so sorry." I looked into her eyes, smiled softly, and said, "Me too." And that was enough. No bitterness, just closure. We parted with a warmth I never thought possible. Because healing isn't just about letting go of him. It's about letting go of every what if and why me. It's about making peace with all versions of yourself. Now, I look in the mirror, and I don't just see a survivor. I see a warrior, a builder, a woman who lit her own path through darkness, who turned betrayal into beauty. My story isn't rare, but my rise is, and if you're hearing this, I want you to know you can rise too. Start small. Breathe. Write. Cry. Speak. One day, you'll stand tall in your own light, and someone will say, "How did you survive that?" And you'll smile and say, "I didn't survive. I transformed." My inbox filled with messages from women. Different cities, languages, struggles, but the same broken look in their eyes. Some whispered their pain. Others screamed it. One wrote, "I stayed with him because I didn't believe I could stand alone." I replied, "I thought that too, until I did." That's the thing about walking away. Your legs may shake, but they still move. And every trembling step is proof that survival isn't loud. Sometimes it's just quiet defiance, silent strength. And that's more powerful than any apology ever offered too late. One night I got a call. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity, it's a funny thing. His voice came through, slow, broken. I messed up. I let the silence stretch, a pause long enough to make him feel the emptiness he left me in. Then I said, "You didn't mess up, you made a choice." And so did I. He asked if we could talk. I said we just did. Then I hung up. Not out of anger, but peace. Because not all doors need to be slammed, some just close softly. I walked into a boardroom one day, pitching a startup focused on women's wellness. The investors, all male, looked skeptical. Until I started speaking. Passion rolled out like thunder. I told them, women are tired of shrinking. We're ready to rebuild. One leaned back, nodded slowly, and said, "You've got something here." I smiled. Because this wasn't just business, it was redemption. The same woman, once dismissed by a man she built, was now building empires of her own. Brick by brick. Without permission. Without apology. Sometimes I still see that girl. Curled up, crying, asking why she wasn't enough. I visit her in memory, hold her hand, tell her, "You were always enough. He just wasn't meant to see it." And that truth, it heals something deep. Because the wound wasn't just him leaving. It was believing his leaving meant I lacked something. But now I know my worth was never tied to his loyalty. My value was never conditional. And healing, it's remembering that no one can take what you never owed them. I started wearing colors again. Bright reds, bold yellows, shades I once avoided because he said they were too loud. But I am loud. I am fire. And I refuse to dim to make anyone comfortable. I dance now without asking if the song is too wild. I laugh without covering my mouth. I take up space, unapologetically, because I'm not afraid of being too much. I'm afraid of being less than I was born to be. And honestly, he couldn't handle my shine. That's on him, not me. People started inviting me to podcasts, asking how I turned pain into power. I told them, I didn't wait for permission to heal. I faced the fire, let it burn what didn't belong, and what remained was solid gold. They call it resilience, but I call it remembering. Remembering who you were before someone convinced you that you weren't magic, before you watered yourself down to be easier to love. Now, I'm unfiltered, unapologetic, and for the first time, entirely whole. He remarried. That hurt more than I expected, not because I wanted him, but because part of me still thought he'd return and see me clearly. That little girl inside still whispered, maybe he'll change. But he didn't, and he won't. And I had to grieve that, not the man, but the fantasy, the illusion that someday closure would walk back through the door. Instead, I gave it to myself. A quiet funeral for false hope. No tears, just peace. And that, my love, is the real goodbye. I met someone new. Not flashy. Not charming in that manipulative way. Just kind. Gentle. He listened. Asked how I liked my tea. Remembered what scared me. And one day, when I flinched at a harmless question, he paused and said, "You don't have to explain. I'm not him." I cried then, not because I was sad, but because I realized I was finally safe. Safe in someone's presence. Safe in my own skin. Healing isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a whisper that says, "You're home." My mother watched me one evening as I gave a TED Talk. Afterward, she hugged me and said, "You are everything I hoped you'd become." And for the first time, I believed her. All the times she warned me about love, about shrinking myself, I finally understood. She wasn't trying to control me. She was trying to protect me from this exact heartbreak. But she also knew that sometimes we need to be broken open to find our power. And now, I carry her wisdom in every word I speak. My story is no longer about him. It's about me. The girl who believed, broke, rebuilt. The woman who rose not in revenge, but in rebirth. And if someone's listening to this, stuck in that same loop, darling, this is your sign. The pain isn't your prison. It's your portal. Walk through it. Cry through it. Then rise. Your rebirth won't look like mine, but it will be beautiful. And one day someone will ask, how did you do it? And you'll smile and say, I didn't. She did. The woman I became. I stopped stalking his profile. No more checking stories. No more scrolling through pictures of the life he built with her. That digital obsession, it was poison. Every click reopened wounds I swore were healing. One day, I blocked him, not out of spite, but self-respect. My peace wasn't worth the pain of comparison. He could post 1,000 photos of fake happiness. I wasn't watching anymore, because real healing starts the moment you stop looking back and finally face the mirror. And what I saw staring back was strength I didn't recognize yet, but would soon call mine. Sometimes, I still smell his cologne in crowded rooms, hear his laugh in strangers' voices. Trauma doesn't disappear on schedule. It lingers. But now, when those echoes come, I breathe. I remind myself, that was then. This is now. It's not about erasing the past. It's about not letting it hold the pen anymore. I'm the author now. And in this chapter, I'm not someone's footnote. I'm not the girl who waited for love that never chose her. I'm the headline, the plot twist, the woman who walked away and never looked back. I learned to forgive, not him, but me. Forgive myself for staying too long, for believing too much, for giving until I ran dry. I used to shame myself for being naive, for not seeing the signs. But love isn't foolish. Trusting isn't weakness. The mistake wasn't loving him. It was forgetting to love myself in the process. So I stood in front of a mirror, one day, tears and all, and whispered, I forgive you. Over and over, until the shame melted into something softer. Until I felt whole again. My business grew faster than I imagined. I hired women like me, survivors, fighters. We created a workspace that felt like home. Laughter echoed through meetings. No fake smiles, no toxic bosses. Just real talk, real healing. I watched these women bloom, saw their confidence return. And I realized this wasn't just a company, it was a movement. A space where pain wasn't hidden, but honored. Where wounds didn't define us, but connected us. Where broken hearts became bold leaders. All because one woman refused to stay silent. He emailed me once. Just a subject line. I miss you. I didn't open it. Didn't need to. I already knew what it said. Regret. Nostalgia. The weight of everything he threw away. But that email wasn't for me. It was for his guilt. His unfinished story. I didn't respond. Silence was my closure. Because healing isn't waiting for an apology. It's realizing you no longer need one. And my silence, it screamed louder than anything I could have written back. A magazine asked to feature me. Called me the Phoenix CEO. I laughed. Not because it was wrong, but because I'd never imagined someone seeing me like that. Years ago, I was just a girl with trembling hands and tear-stained cheeks. Now I was fire reborn. I wore a red suit for the shoot. No jewelry. No filters. Just power. When the article came out, women everywhere wrote, "You told my story." That's when I knew my pain had purpose. And my voice, it was finally free. My therapist once said, "Grief is love that has nowhere to go." That line stayed with me. I carried so much grief and so much love for the version of him I thought existed, for the life we were supposed to build. But now I pour that love elsewhere, into art, into people who reciprocate, into me. That love didn't die. It just found better places to grow. Places where it's nourished, not drained. Places where love means respect, not sacrifice. And honestly, that's more than I ever asked for. There was a day I walked into a gala. Black dress, red lips. My name echoed through the speakers as an honoree. I took the stage, looked into a crowd of faces, including his. And I said, there was a time I thought I'd never speak again. Now, I speak for every woman who thought silence was her only choice. The room erupted. He clapped too, but slower, quieter, because even applause can sound hollow when you realize the woman you lost is now a legacy. My ex's friend messaged me, said, "You were always too good for him." I didn't feel flattered. I felt sad. Sad that everyone saw my worth except the one who had it. But maybe that's the lesson. Not everyone who holds your heart knows what they're carrying. Some people drop diamonds like they're stones. And some never get a second chance to pick them back up. That's life. Some losses aren't yours to carry. They're his. And trust me, they get heavier with time. In the end, I stopped telling people about him. He became a paragraph in my story, not the whole plot. I used to need people to understand what I survived. Now, I just live. That's the best ending of all. Not revenge, not justice, just peace. A peace that wraps around me like armor. A peace that says, you made it. Because I did. I survived. I rose. And while he may still be chasing new distractions, I found something rarer. I found myself. One day, I visited our old college campus. Just for closure. The same bench where I gave him my lunch, the library we used to hide in during exams. It all felt smaller. Or maybe I had just grown. A girl once sat beside me, crying over a boy who ghosted her. I gave her my water and a soft smile. I didn't tell her my story. Just said, "You'll be okay. Better than okay." Because I knew now, some things you don't survive to tell. You survive to guide. I saw him again. Not at an event. Not in a dream. But randomly at a coffee shop. No suits. No glamour. Just a tired man with empty eyes. He looked at me like I was a ghost. I nodded politely, walked past him, and never turned back. My heart didn't race. My hands didn't shake. Because when you truly heal, the past loses its power. He didn't break me. He built the woman who wouldn't break again. My mother once said, sometimes God delays love so you can learn how to love yourself first. I never understood that. Until now. Until I stood in front of a crowd, not looking for love, but giving light. Until I laughed without needing permission. Until I danced in my kitchen at midnight, barefoot and unbothered. That's love too. The kind no one can steal. The kind no betrayal can dim. Self-love isn't a trend, it's a revolution. The pain made me creative. I wrote poems, stories, scripts like this one. And the world listened. My voice wasn't soft anymore. It had thunder in it. People asked how I got here, and I said, through fire. Because the strongest steel is forged in flame. And I was forged in heartbreak, lies, and silence. But now, I speak. And when I speak, women lift their heads. Because they see me and feel seen. He got married last month. To her. The Mistress. A mutual friend sent me the pictures. I didn't open them. I didn't wish them well. Didn't curse them either. I simply didn't care. That's the kind of peace you can't fake. When your heart no longer beats for justice, but for joy. They say karma's real, but honestly, my glow up is enough. No need for revenge when your happiness makes the whole world stare. My brand now funds scholarships for women, especially the girls who stay quiet, who sacrifice, who believe too long. I tell them, Never shrink for someone who refuses to grow. I print it on merch. Say it in speeches. One day, a girl whispered, "You saved me." And I realized all the pain was planting. Now, I was the harvest. And the seeds I sowed, they were becoming forests. I met someone new. Slowly, cautiously. He didn't try to fix me. He just held space. Never asked for my past. Just built a future with me, one gentle word at a time. Love, this time, felt like safety, not survival. And I realized when you stop chasing chaos, peace finds you. And peace, it's breathtaking. Not loud, not flashy, just calm. And real. And mine. I got a letter from his mother once. She said, "I'm sorry for what my son did. You were the best thing that ever happened to him." I cried, not because I needed the apology, but because someone finally saw me. Really saw me. Not as the girl he left, but the woman I became. Sometimes closure doesn't come from the person who hurt you, but from the people who saw you love them anyway. Now, when I tell my story, I don't shake. I don't cry. I don't whisper. I own it. Because what broke me also built me. What tried to end me became the reason I began. This story, it's not about heartbreak. It's about rebirth. It's not about him. It's about her, the woman who rose, glowed, and never looked back. The phoenix, me. And if he ever watches this, if he ever hears these words, I hope he realizes he didn't just lose a girlfriend, he lost a legacy. I gave him the blueprint, and he burned it. I gave him my soul, and he chose lipstick. But I chose me. And now, he watches from the sidelines, while I build an empire he'll never sit in. I was the gift, and he was the lesson.